until the end of October. And they still release the poll after that, but nobody really cares about it after that. But it at least gives us a baseline. It allows you to put a number next to your name for at least the first 2/3 of the season, really.
It's just interesting, kind of looking at this year's list, and I know I'm kind of jumping right into it. I mean, USC's playing 6 top 20 teams. I know we've been kind of talking about the last couple of weeks just how difficult their schedule is going to be, but I mean, that's just a lot of exciting football to be, to anticipate for, but also just having that come in. Is that kind of the norm usually?
Look, South Carolina's always had a tough schedule pretty much every single year. I think last year they actually had the toughest schedule in the country, and Georgia was a part of that at number one a season ago. But I believe it's actually 7 teams they're going to play that's in the top 25. So they're going to go at number 5 Alabama. They're going to play number 6 Ole Miss. They're going to host number 11 Missouri, host number 13 LSU, go on the road to number 14 Clemson, go on the road to number 16 Oklahoma, and then host number 20 Texas A&M. This schedule was already tough, but when you put it into that context of 7 of your games are against top 20 teams, it just makes it all that more daunting.
Yeah, and then, luckily they have Missouri and LSU at home, which will kind of it'll be at least nice to kind of have those 2 games in that William Bryce environment. But when you see Alabama on the road and Oklahoma on the road, that's really hard, any team.
Yeah, the Oklahoma game, that's the trouble about something like this in the middle of August is we don't know what these teams are going to be when we get there, because Oklahoma, that's not until late October. You don't play A&M and Missouri until you get into the month of November. Our opinions of these teams could change drastically between now and then in good ways or bad ways. Like Missouri could be a one-loss team when they come in here and could be ranked number 7. And if that is the case, then they look even more daunting than they do right now. A&M could be a 500 team by the time they come into Williams-Brice Stadium, and then we're not as, afraid of that game necessarily. So, again, it's kind of a baseline to start the season. Now, look, Alabama's probably still going to be really good when you get there. Ole Miss probably still going to be really good when you get there. LSU's in week number 3. They're, going to be what they are at that point in time. But some of these other games, we'll see what Clemson is by the end of the season. And on the flip side of things, other teams that you play could end up being ranked by the time you play them. Like it's a lot of a lot of mixing and matching here that you just don't truly know until you get there. But where we sit right now, based on what we know about these teams and based on these rankings, it does make that already tough schedule look that much tougher.
This is to me kind of reading the book by its cover. Like you said, it's kind of a benchmark. Kind of a benchmark to kind of put these teams going into this year. I mean, kind of anticipating what a lot of the teams have done, in terms of the transfer portal over the last year. We could turn around in 2-3 weeks and half these teams could have already dropped a game or two. And then, then that benchmark doesn't necessarily hold true, or they come into the season winning out their first 3-5 games, and then they're higher than that benchmark. So it's kind of, I think, just a number to get people anticipated, more or less excited for, what that team maybe they're expecting to carry out.
Absolutely. So again, 7 teams ranked in the top 20 are on South Carolina's schedule, at least where they sit as of right now. And I think it'd be interesting to kind of go through here and kind of put in order from most confident to least confident which games we think South Carolina does actually have a chance in. And it's a really tough debate. I mean, A&M is the lowest on this list. I think you can make a good case that they're maybe the team that you feel like you got the best chance to get against, because you are playing that game at home. You are going up against a team that is rebuilding in a way. Now, they're not completely off track. Jimbo Fisher just was not able to get them to the level that, his salary suggested he should have them at. So, and Mike Elko was there before as a DC, helped recruit a lot of those guys there. So it's not like he's got to build the thing from the ground up, but there could be some growing pains in year number 1 for him as the head coach out there at A&M. So I would probably put that game as the most confident against ranked opponents that you feel like you could win. And I mean, maybe you say, and again, I'm not trying to go in dissenting order here, but maybe you say like an Oklahoma is second on that.
I don't know. I feel like the rivalry aspect they have with Clemson, I feel like that might be more familiar territory for them compared to maybe an Alabama or an Ole Miss but I kind of think it's interesting, that rivalry dynamic they always have with Clemson. I mean, anything can kind of happen when you put two teams in an environment like that, whether, they're playing it at home or on the road.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. And look, when Carolina beat Clemson 2 seasons ago, I don't think anybody gave them that much of a chance, especially going on the road like they're going to be doing this year. And, they'd come off that big one against Tennessee the week before. So anything certainly can happen. I've said this a lot this offseason. I don't know what Clemson's going to be, but what I do know is they've not changed a lot in the offseason because they didn't really hit the transfer portal. They didn't hit the transfer portal at all. We know that for a fact. Brought in some highly touted true freshmen, particularly at wide receiver, that could end up making a difference, but I don't know how much better they're going to be from a year ago. A team that South Carolina played down to the wire. Now, yes, the offense wasn't where we wanted it to be for that game, but if you fine-tune things a little bit there, we're talking about maybe South Carolina beating Clemson in that game at the end of the season. So I don't think that margin is all that much, and I do think Clemson is being a little overvalued at number 14 in the preseason poll, which it's an interesting debate to have because Clemson's a team that has obviously had a lot of success over the past decade, national championships, double-digit win seasons and all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people look at what happened last year as just kind of a one-year anomaly, just a quick dip back to the single digits, back to a mid-tier bowl game. But I think a lot of people are expecting them to kind of rise back up to being one of the better programs in college football. I just don't quite know if I believe that yet.
Yeah, and I mean, the benchmark kind of says it all. They're not even in kind of the top 10, and the benchmark is kind of saying it wouldn't really be a surprise if they don't really kind of move anywhere. Quite honestly, I don't think they've done anything in the past year that would necessarily make them better or worse than where they sat this year, but it'll be interesting to see if kind of what they did will kind of keep them where they are, or will push them ahead or behind.
So after that, I'd probably put Oklahoma as the third most confident game. The fact that you're going on the road to an unknown environment in Norman does give me a little bit of pause there. But unlike a lot of the teams on this list, we have a lot of questions about Oklahoma, where they're replacing their quarterback, they're replacing their offensive line. They got a lot of new things about this team that we're not really sure how good they're going to be. Now, they won 10 games a year ago, and you got to give them credit for that, which is why they're in the top 25 to start the season. But, this is a team that could still be trying to figure things out by the time, mid-October rolls around.
Yeah, and they very much could go out and win, 10, even 11 games probably this year. But when you're moving pieces around, like, your quarterback, your offensive line, I mean, it's always kind of subject to really your win-loss total throughout the year. I mean, that's kind of your driving force and getting points on the board. And if you can't really get that done, I mean, I've seen it. I mean, at least at any kind of level, just not having that cohesive unit on offense can really make or break you, especially. And I know at least offensive line units over the last year kind of impacted USC.
After that, so again, I think A&M I have the most confidence in that. Clemson, OU, and then again, I'm kind of going in descending order for the most part here. But LSU after that, that's week number 3. It's a home game. It's a noon game. One that, much like Oklahoma, they're replacing their quarterback, replacing a lot of first-round talent on that offense. Defense wasn't good a season ago. This to me kind of is primed for like the game that South Carolina could maybe grab the nation's attention, because LSU, whether they're good or bad, they're still a brand that people pay attention to. And if you beat LSU, you've garnered a lot of attention in doing that. And if Carolina can be as good as we hope they are in the first couple of weeks of the season, this could be the opportunity that they really go out there and grab a lot of the nation's attention by beating a team like LSU in week number 3.
Yeah, see, I agree with you there. This is a conference matchup. If USC can pull this one out, I mean, that's like, even if the season is a bust, you'll go back in years and say, years from this season and go, remember when we beat LSU in our house? I mean, those wins are super extra special. I mean, and I know this is kind of a stretch comparison, but even growing up as a Jets fan, I mean, the year they lost to the Steelers, and I still go back and think about how they, Mark Sanchez beat Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in the same postseason. I mean, it ended up still being kind of all for nothing, but you still look back and go, wow, remember how they beat those two, Titans? So I guess in that case, if USC did beat LSU, I could definitely see going back and looking at it and going, remember that year we beat LSU in our house?
Right. And then after that, the three toughest games, no surprise, Missouri, Ole Miss, then Alabama. And I think, again, kind of going into dissenting order, that there goes your confidence level in each of those games. You do get Missouri and Ole Miss at home. Missouri is a team that returns a lot of talent, especially in Luther Burden at wide receiver. Brady Cook was a very solid quarterback a year ago. Ole Miss is a team that just has a ton of talent from the transfer portal. And Alabama's Alabama. You're going on the road to Tuscaloosa, a place that doesn't treat too many people kindly. Yes, this is a new regime at Alabama with Nick Saban gone and Kalen DeBoer taking over as head coach. But, man, going into Alabama trying to pick up a win in the middle of October, that is tough for anybody, especially a team like South Carolina that has so many question marks.
I think the best way to sum it up is in 4 words: good luck, have fun. I mean, especially on the road, that it's going to be tough for anybody. So good luck, have fun.
Yeah, we'll certainly see what happens. But again, that's the opponents for South Carolina that are ranked in the top 25 to start the season. We'll touch plenty more on this as the morning goes along. But coming up in about 5 minutes here, we're set to be joined by NASCAR driver Chris Buescher as we get set for Darlington Raceway's Southern 500 in a couple weeks and the start of the NASCAR playoffs. We'll get his thoughts and insight into what's going on with his attempt to get into the field of 16. That's coming up. It is the Extra Point. He is Sam Shapiro from WIS. I'm Tyler Head on your Tuesday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head, Sam Shapiro from WIS hanging out with you on your Tuesday here on the game. And Sam, you've known me for a while. You know I love talking racing anytime we can. We are in the midst of NASCAR's run to the postseason with playoffs coming up here in just a couple weeks. One of those drivers that's getting set to try and get his way into the playoffs over these next couple of races is Chris Buescher, who's joining us now on the Love Chevrolet phone line. Chris, first of all, appreciate your time this morning. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Just enjoying a little bit of nice weather and getting ready to get back on a plane and get to the racetrack.
Well, certainly you know you're looking forward to Michigan this weekend, a place you picked up a victory last season, which would lock you into the NASCAR playoffs. We'll talk about your own journey into trying to get in that field of 16 in just a moment. But news of the week, obviously what happened at the end of Richmond on Sunday with Austin Dillon's controversial victory, making his way through both Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano en route to that. I just got to ask, what's your thoughts on that, and which way do you think NASCAR's going to go with this later today when penalties are announced?
Yeah, I think obviously it's been the buzz of our town, right? And a lot going through everyone's heads, and I don't know. I guess from where I'm at, it's not my favorite thing to see for sure. I understand that there's a couple things in play. Austin should have had that win before that last caution came out, and it should have been a pretty easy win for him. And obviously that there was a big change up there, so you're feeling like you got one slipping. But when it comes to the end of the race, it was just it was a little ugly. Just not how we grew up racing, and certainly it's just a bit of a product of our sport now in playoffs and how this is driven into everybody's minds of how you got to get this single win and you're locked into a playoff format. So. I don't know that we'll see much come from it today. I wouldn't expect to get much. I'd say there's been a lot of studying and listening and going through some audio, and there might be some movement, but I don't think you're going to see anything major from a front of getting rid of a win or any kind of points that way. I don't think so. But I've certainly been wrong before and haven't been too privy to any of those deep conversations either.
Chris, Sam Shapiro here. That kind of bleeds into my next question, with the playoffs coming up, with you 3 points under the cut line, what's your approach kind of going into these next few races?
Really no different for us. We're going to the racetrack to win, and we've been very good at a lot of racetracks this year. We've been very close. We've had obviously a couple of photo finishes, and you could have certainly taken approach of wiping somebody out and getting a win. And at the end of the day, might look back and say, well, if that's going to become the normal, going to wish we did. But ultimately, it's just not my style there. So we're gonna look back on all these races that we've been good at, that we've been so close at, and figure out how to improve on that just a little bit as we head into these next three. There are racetracks that have been very good to us. Michigan, Daytona, were able to win both of those last year, and Darlington, we were leading that race with just a handful of laps to go earlier in the year, and got wiped out there. So I'd say that we have a pretty positive outlook on the next couple of races and the opportunities that we're going to have. It's just going to be a matter of really executing clean days and putting ourselves in the right spot so that we can capture a win and put another trophy up on the shelf, lock ourselves into the playoffs so that we're not talking about the point side of it as we head into Darlington, and get us ready for the end of the season.
Again, talking to Chris Buescher, driver of the number 17 Ford Mustang for Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. And Chris, you've been a part of the Roush family for a long time, and before Brad took over a couple years ago, it was a organization that was certainly not towards the top of NASCAR, but these past couple of years, a lot of resurgence. You've obviously won a couple races. Brad got his win at Darlington earlier on this year. From your perspective, what has this rebirth of this organization been like, and what do you attribute the most to Brad Keselowski being able to come in and have this kind of success with your team?
Yeah, there's not enough time to properly answer that question, but I say that it has been such an enjoyable few years. Like you hit on there, and it was certainly no secret in our sport. We had gotten to a point where Roush was just not at the top of its game, and for probably a number of reasons, and small reasons, and that stacked up on top of each other. Maybe bigger reasons. I really wouldn't be able to go through all of it, but I'd say that just in the last couple of years, we've had a lot of really good things happen. This new car was a good reset for RFK as a whole. So there's a part of the equation. I think the biggest part is Brad coming in an ownership role and as a teammate has really been instrumental in helping guide our program towards what we feel like is important to make speed. I think that him coming in has really injected a bunch of energy into our entire operation, which is really given confidence to the rest of our race team, whether that's Jack being pumped up and excited to go back to the racetrack again, whether that's the Fenway side of our group being excited to build up our program and inject what's needed into it. I feel like it's just been a number of things that have all come together that have gotten us to a really good point. And certainly, I know it's not been easy for anybody. Everybody's been working really hard to find the speed, but also to keep the speed. I think that's really easy to get caught up in, is say you're successful and kind of hold on to that, and you can get behind really quick. And I don't know, it feels like that's some of what happened to the organization many years ago, and working hard not to let that be what gets us this go around. So again, we've been fast at so many different styles of racetracks. Whether that's been super speedways, road courses, short tracks, it hasn't mattered to us, and we felt like we've gone to every single track with an opportunity to if not win, be solidly in the top 10. And for any number of reasons, you can't get the right result every week, but we've been capable of it.
Again, talking to NASCAR Cup Series driver Chris Buescher ahead of the playoffs here starting in a couple weeks. I was there back in the spring at Darlington. Thought you had that one in the bag, and of course you got mixed up there with Tyler Reddick and things went to your teammate instead, Brad Keselowski. Do you feel like Darlington owes you one? And if you were put in the same situation, how might that go differently this time?
Yeah, I don't think a racetrack ever owes you one. It certainly is going to be one that we felt like slipped away, but it was kind of the best case scenario for a worst case situation for us. But best case outcome for our worst case scenario with Brad being able to get the win there. But for us, it really put a huge damper on our day. We ended up, I think, 28th, 30th, somewhere in there on the day after that, and just really not what we deserved on it. So, find ourselves in the same situation. Just got to be faster, be able to get away from those situations. And if we're in the exact same situation with Tyler, I don't think it goes down the same way again. I think we've talked about it enough, but we just got to know that when it comes down to the end of this thing, it's going to be hard. So. Again, we're going to be fast when we get there. I can't wait to get to Darlington. It's one of my favorite tracks, so don't want to have to feel like we got to win there to lock ourselves in. Want to do it beforehand, but if it comes down to that, we will be ready to show up to the racetrack and put on a show and give it our all to go put another trophy up on the shelf.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on you in the 17 team these next couple weeks. There's 3 good tracks for you to see if you can lock yourself into the playoffs. We certainly want to wish you the best of luck and can't wait to see you in Darlington in a couple weeks.
Looking forward to it. Appreciate it very much, and we'll see you there.
Absolutely. That is Chris Buescher, driver of the 17 Ford Mustang for Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series. We'll come back, continue on with today's edition of The Extra Point. Talk about things that might ruin your college football Saturday. He's Sam Shapiro. I'm Tyler Head. It's Tuesday here on The Game. Tyler Head here to tell you about our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. Of course, had all that rain that came through last week with the hurricane. So if you still have any standing water under your home, you need to get that checked out because, as I've told you many times, standing water under your home can create a lot of problems like a mold, mildew, pests, things like termites can get in there. That moisture can also lead to wood rot and floor joist problems as well. Musty smells or awful odors can come from your crawl space that can cause health issues like runny nose, itchy eyes, or coughs, because about half the air that you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space. So if you have standing water under your home from the hurricane or for any other reason, quite frankly, you need to check out our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist. Go online and schedule an appointment today at cantyconvixa.com. Again, that is online at cantyconvixa.com for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head, Sam Spear from WIS hanging out with you on your Tuesday here on the game. Quickly, it's time for our Who Did the Heavy Lifting, brought to you by our friends over at TEC Equipment Rental. You probably didn't get to stay up for this one, but the Braves were on the West Coast last night taking on the Giants. Picked up the 1-0 victory in 10 innings. heavy lifting done by both starting pitchers, Chris Sale and Blake Snell, starting for their respective teams, combined for 13 and a third innings, giving up 5 hits combined, no runs, and 23 strikeouts. Sale went 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 12 strikeouts, and Snell went 6 and a third, 2 hits, no runs, and 11 strikeouts. Elite pitching performances. Kind of one of those games that you hate that one team has to lose because both guys did so well. But fortunately for Braves fans like myself, they were able to come out on top for what's been a rough couple of weeks for the Bravos.
It's almost kind of like gives me that Rams-Chiefs, like that undertone taste from that Rams-Chiefs game back. I think it was like
It's 2018.
Yeah, where it was like an absolute offensive manslaughter. But yeah, kind of going back to what you were saying, a great pitching duel last night, and it's so tough when you can't see both pitchers get the W and both get a mark in the win column. But, exciting baseball to see nonetheless.
Well, the Braves need to stop the bleeding because they've been on a little bit of a bad run here as of late as they try and hold on to that last wild card spot. They'll take on the Giants again coming up tonight at 9:45 out there once again on the West Coast. So I sent you this yesterday. Our guy Josh Pate from the Late Kick podcast with CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports on his Twitter the other week posed a question. He said, college football words and phrases to avoid, go. And a lot of different replies there, but one that garnered the most attention was, this may be somebody from your neck of the woods, at Jets, responded with, we're going to my parents on Saturday, remember? Which for anybody that's ever been in that situation, you probably felt your heart sink just hearing those words, or sink just hearing those words, because you have this like whole day planned out on Saturday. I'm going to watch this game at noon. I'm going to watch these 2 games at 3:30, this game at 7:30, whatever it may be. And those plans just completely get derailed because your significant other has planned something for you to do on that Saturday or told you about it and you forgot about it because you were thinking about college football instead. So what are some other things that you can hear that will immediately ruin your college football Saturday?
So I know we were kind of talking about this earlier. So obviously, I went to a Division III school in upstate New York. And
Yep.
I ran cross country when I ran for Ithaca College. So the thing with running cross country is all the races are on Saturday mornings, usually in between 9 and 11 o'clock. Which is usually when people are getting ready for game day.
Yeah.
And for a lot of these meets, we'd have to drive, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours across the state, or, even across the border to Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Long story short, Saturday, basically every Saturday, we would hear it's meet day. So instead of, going to a college football game like most normal college students would do, I would usually be getting on a giant coach bus going to a cornfield to go run 5 miles for fun.
Oh, that's brutal.
And, don't forget about the 2-mile warm-up and the 2-mile cool-down. So you're really spending the entire day running instead of tailgating. So, going back to the forbidden phrases, it's meet day is definitely something that I don't miss hearing on Saturdays anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I had a similar kind of experience when I was in high school playing baseball. We had a fall season where, if you were on the baseball team, you had to play in the fall, and we played games on Saturday as well. Now, typically it was like one game, but it'd be like in the middle of the day. And typically, I would have whatever game I wanted to watch being DVR'd, so I could watch it when I got home. The problem was there was always the parent in the stands that was listening to the game on the radio or watching it on their phone or whatever that would end up spoiling it for you. Like, hey, so-and-so scored. It's this in the fourth quarter. I'm like, no, I'm waiting until I get home to watch the game. Stop ruining it for me.
That's kind of the worst. Like, people would let her sit in the stadium and continue to play it?
Well, I mean, if you're not bothering anybody, but it's just like the hearing other people talk about it. Because I'm one of those people, if I'm DVRing something, which I try not to DVR sports events because it's not the same. But if I'm DVRing a sporting event, I shut myself off from social media. I don't let people I don't want to know what happens until I get to see it for myself. So hearing the final score of a game that you're yet to watch is very it's a sinking feeling, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, if you've never seen the game before, it's one thing, but like, it's like getting a movie spoiled for you.
Sure. Things to avoid this fall: weddings in general. Your friends shouldn't have fall weddings just in the first place, because they should understand what is happening this time of year. I've been to a couple fall weddings myself. I had a cousin that got married on George Florida Saturday. That was not a fun day.
Oh gosh.
Pumpkin patches, avoid those as well. If you hear anything about your, girlfriend, wife, whoever wanted to take you to a pumpkin patch, just know that's going to take up your whole day. Apple picking the same way. Any kind of fruit-related activity in the fall is going to be detrimental to your college football Saturday.
So what do you think So I guess what do you think teams or conferences need to do to, I guess, interweave these kind of, like Oktoberfest? Like, I don't know. I see people, going out to Oktoberfest, going out like, tailgating, drinking, whatever. Like, there's no way they could not intertwine, like.
Now, if you're going to an event where there's the opportunity to watch sports, like, if you're going to an Oktoberfest, guess what? You can probably find a bar somewhere with TVs and stuff like that. Like, that's fine. But I'm talking about these venues where you're not going to get to partake in your sports for that day. I did go to a fall wedding last year for one of my wife's friends. We knew them from college and everything. And I was, at least in my mind, saying, all right, at least at the reception, I can be on my phone watching games and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'll miss a little bit during the ceremony, and I'm not going to be that person that's watching the game during the ceremony. I'm respectful of that. But when we got there, they didn't have Wi-Fi, and we were in a cell dead area. So I went through. We were there because it was one of those things, like, it was a late afternoon wedding. There was a party and all that kind of stuff. Or the reception afterward. We didn't leave until like 11 that night. So I was completely in the dark for like 7 hours, which, especially doing this job, brutal. Because you're just like, you have that FOMO, right? Things are happening and you're not getting to see. You're missing out on everything taking place in college football that day. Like, that is why try to avoid fall weddings as much as you can.
And the irony of that is, I bet you were not the only guy at that reception who was sticking their phone up in the air half the day, trying to get a bar, trying to get some service, just trying to not have that FOMO.
There was one place outside where my phone would load up enough where I could get on the ESPN app and check scores.
Okay.
But, like, it was not fitting enough to stream anything or anything like that. Like, I just had to periodically go and try and check scores when I could, which that's even worse, because especially when you see, like, oh man, this game's like, this is getting down to the wire, 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, whatever, and you can't watch it. That is brutal. So fall weddings, detrimental to your college Saturday. Pumpkin patches, apple orchards, those kind of things, detrimental to your fall Saturdays. If you have any more suggestions, 803-404-6100, because, guys, it's coming. You're going to be posed these situations. How you handle them determines your college football viewing experience.
You're giving me false scaries, Tyler. I don't want to think about how I can get chipped out of watching college football already.
Here's a good one. Bad Saturdays when the internet is down, power went out. Oh, I've had that happen before. A couple years ago, our entire internet went out for like 3 days, starting on like a Friday. Didn't get back till Monday. Missed the entire weekend of everything. I went and sat in McDonald's parking lot on my phone just to watch a little bit. I was like there for like 2 hours. Yeah, but you do what you got to do.
And kind of going back to the point where it's like, you can only get the score updates. Then when you get like the major update where it's like either they hit a game winner or because there was one time I remember I was loading up a score and my team was for sure definitely going to win the game, and I think there was maybe 5 seconds left on the clock. And I think it was a basketball game, but I think it was Heat and Celtics, actually. It was an NBA game. But it blinked, and the Celtics hit, I think, a three-pointer with like 2 seconds left to go.
Right.
And, it just was kind of surprising how I wanted more context.
You give us your suggestions, 803-404-6100. We'll hit some more of these as we come back to wrap up today's edition of The Extra Point. He's Sam Shapiro. I'm Tyler Head on your Tuesday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head, Sam Shapiro along with you on this Tuesday here on The Game. Reminder, Ultimate Season Ticket Giveaway is back on 1075thegame.com. Go online, register for your chance to win tickets to every home football game, every home baseball game, every home men and women's basketball game for the upcoming Gamecock sports calendar year. Just like last year, we're going to take our 3 finalists out to our golf event at the end of next week at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia and crown 1 overall winner there. Again, go online to 1075thegame.com and register for your chance to win. All right. I figured this was going to strike a chord with a lot of people talking about things that can ruin your college football Saturday. Troy weighs in and says, real men don't get married on fall Saturdays. Can't say I disagree with you on that. I strongly encourage people to not get married between the months of August and December. You have literally 7 other months on the calendar that you can do it. Fair game then, just obviously not like Super Bowl weekend. But besides that, you're fair game. So yes, please don't get married in August, September, October. Well, even like August, you can do like the first half of the month. But in a year like this, where you have college football starting on August 31st, please refrain from doing that. Will says baby showers, also something you can get invited to, and those can happen anytime.
Baby showers, cut it out.
And again, that's something that is going to take up a significant portion of your Saturday. And unless the father of the child has an area for the guys, like, hey, women are going to be in here trading gifts and all that kind of stuff. We're going to go in the basement, drink beer, and watch football. Like, then, okay. But if I don't know that's happening,
yeah, there needs to be some kind of quarantined off man cave or corner area where the updates can be rolling in, and the lack of FOMO can be kind of quenched if that makes sense.
Because that's a place where if you're on your phone, like watching a game while this shower's going on, you're going to get in trouble. People are going to say things to you, right? So just avoid the situation. Stay home. You can, help buy the gift, but stay home for your own good.
There's also going to be more than one person there that's going to want to watch the game. So it's like if you're trying to prevent the collective from getting in trouble.
You don't know that because sometimes your wife's friends, husbands, or boyfriends may not like sports. And then you're standing there awkwardly trying to figure out what to talk to them about.
That's crazy.
Like, hey, did you see the game? I don't watch sports. Ooh, okay, well, this conversation isn't going the way that I wanted it to.
You just heard me react the way you don't like sports. That's crazy.
Well, let's see here. Nemus texter, my wife kept on volunteering me for things to do on Saturday, so I fixed the issue. I got divorced. Would not recommend that. Perhaps conversation beforehand of, hey, I am not willing to volunteer on Saturdays between the months of August and December. Wouldn't recommend getting divorced, but I can see how that will cause frustration.
So my question for you is, and this might be a subject that strikes a nerve in a lot of people.
Okay.
Going to, maybe a concert.
Yes.
If somebody offered you, I guess maybe like Taylor Swift tickets to that concert, the Swifties out there would say,
if it is something that you're really into, you know what I mean? Like, that is a fun event. Like, if you got tickets to see your favorite band at Charlotte or whatever, 7:00 show, Saturday, October the whatever, I feel like that's a little more fair game because you at least have the hours at the beginning of the day. And again, it's up to your own judgment at that point. You have the hours at the beginning of the day, you can watch college football, you can be on your phone watching it with whoever's driving you up there, and then, you can check your scores at the concert. Nobody's going to get mad at you about that.
So you're not really missing out.
You're going there out of your own enjoyment. So, the weddings, the apple orchards, pumpkin patch, these are things that you're kind of maybe being drugged to. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a little different. If you are really going to enjoy yourself at a concert on a fall Saturday, that's a little bit different in my opinion, much like the Oktoberfest thing. Again, there's avenues and places you can go to watch sports if you want to, but you're drinking and having a good time. So if you miss a game or two there, that's different, I feel like. And again, I don't think you're being drugged against your will to Oktoberfest.
Well, not in the same way that you'd maybe be getting getting dragged to like camp out in the woods where you also don't have service.
Yeah, avoid camping this time of year.
Yeah.
Because you're not, unless you can just bring a hotspot with you, which the people you're camping with aren't going to love that. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to watch the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, what? Just because you want to be with nature means you got to miss out on all the excitement over the weekend?
Exactly.
That sounds kind of criminal.
There's nothing better than listening to the sounds of nature next to a crackling fire where you're watching Alabama and Tennessee play a shootout on a Saturday night.
Or you're watching, Oregon's 7 guys on the defensive front completely lay out, any other SEC backfield.
Listen, that is beautiful to me. Honestly.
Sounds like music to any sports fan's ears.
Absolutely. That'll do it for today's edition of The Extra Point. Appreciate you guys weighing in on the Firehouse Subs text line 803-404-6100. Coming up next, it is the Garner Trust Hour brought to you by Krantz Heating and Cooling. Myself and Wes Mitchell going to be talking to Ryan McGee of ESPN, get his thoughts on the upcoming college football season. All that coming up next here on The Game.